Welcome to the Startup Pflege podcast. In today's episode, we'll present to you BearCover. Enjoy this episode. Hello, in a kind of a twist for the Pflege startup episodes that we have with FLEXXI Care. We're going to do the first one in English. And we have two CEOs at the table. So I'm Philip Czipczer, CEO of FLEXXI Care Deutschland. And we have Daniel Flynn, CEO of BearCover GmbH.
Correct.
Daniel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Philip.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I flew in from Antwerp yesterday, so we're accelerated by an age tech focused accelerator out there. And today was my first day on the conference, and I had my pitch earlier here for the arena.
How was the pitch?
Pitch was pretty good.
Okay.
It's always interesting, so I speak a little German, but it's always interesting when you do an event like this because I'm quite loud. And also in a conference hall full of German speakers to hear a very strong Irish accent. So people start to come over just to listen to what is this exactly. So it was a good pitch. I enjoyed it.
How's your German?
Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. So,
Bisschen Deutsch auch.
ja, ich habe in Deutschland für die letzten 4,5 Jahre gewohnt. So, ja, Schritt für Schritt. Mein Deutsch ist immer besser. Aber ich bin nicht B1. Ja.
Auch, vielleicht, wir haben schon gesprochen heute, das ist Babydeutsch.
Kinderdeutsch.
Kinderdeutsch.
Es ist einfach, es ist relativ einfach.
Look at us trying there.
Wir sind beide Ausländer, aber
It's schon.
as we say, it's the thought that counts.
It's a solid career. That's true. So tell us a bit about BearCover. What is it and what's the idea behind it?
Sure. So BearCover is focused on addressing the staffing shortage in Germany and other developed countries, specifically in inpatient care. And our first product focuses at nighttime care. And we do it in a very unique way. We think that the solution is both to give them more people and to give them more technology. And we do that by integrating human-robot teams into the facility.
Okay.
So that maybe sounds a little bit complicated.
Yeah, I want to say, it's a team of robots then?
So it's a team, we do a combination. We combine remote humans that operate in support, like a mission control, with physical devices in your facility. So our humans talk to your care staff.
Okay.
So they're not,
Remote
how do I use this?
Yeah.
Exactly. And we basically make sure that everything is running cool as it's supposed to be. And then our devices perform superhuman tasks.
Superhuman tasks, okay.
So for instance, our flagship device is Oscar. And Oscar is an autonomous robot that can drive door to door, but it's fitted with a radar sensor that allows us to see through closed doors and walls and detect the movements of residents. It's all anonymous. It's all Datenschutz compliant.
Okay.
Really easy to implement. And what that means is for a normal facility, instead of performing a check every hour or 2 or 3 checks per night, the robots are able to perform checks every 20 to 30 minutes, allowing your care staff to focus on delivering care and our team in the background make sure that everything is okay.
And saving time at the same time.
Exactly. And so we're trying to increase both the quality of care and saving time for the caregivers that are working.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how's business going?
Business is pretty good. So at the moment, we have 3 facilities that we operate in as test. One is a Pflegeheim, so straight nursing home. The other is a geriatric clinic.
Yeah.
And the third is a neurological rehab clinic.
Are they all in Berlin or?
So all in Brandenburg at the moment,
Brandenburg,
but we have pilot contracts to go to places as far as Diakonie Niedersachsen, for instance, where we work in their Pflegeheim. So we're sort of everywhere at the moment, figuring out the models that work for clients.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
How did you get founded and what was the idea behind it?
Yeah, so interesting question. So many years ago, I met one of my co-founders as part of this European Union accelerator program under Horizon 2020. Yeah, and they took lots of entrepreneurs from different countries together, and we had to find something we wanted to work on. And the one thing that everyone could agree on from different countries was that everyone's healthcare system was a mess.
Okay.
And what we meant by a mess was health is always something that somebody goes into because they really want to help and make a difference. But the problem with the system is through wages, through work pressure, through everything, the people who mean the most and care the most tend to get sort of ground up and spat out the other.
That's true, yeah.
My sister was a nurse. My mother worked in a hospital for many years. My co-founder's father is a doctor. His mother ran a hospital.
So you have a deep background in the industry.
Exactly. So we knew this space reasonably well. We tried to build a software product for it. It got some traction, but ultimately that wasn't the time.
Yeah.
And years later, we saw as a team that the cost curve for robotics was coming way down. So if you look at like the cost of compute, all of the stuff in AI, we were like, oh, maybe it's possible now to build a hardware product.
Actually affordable to do it.
So we moved to Berlin. We started building robots for older people at home. And then we met a guy who runs a nursing home. And this is in the middle of Corona. And he says to us, yeah, I have a problem where my residents fall or wander off and fall at nighttime. And we find them 3, 4, 5 hours later. And I have to tell the family, the insurance, the staff are upset, the resident might never be the same again. And we asked a very specific question, Philip. And we just said, why? They said, well, actually, in Germany, we have no staff. So it's not uncommon for 100 people in a Pflege Hand to be managed by 2 people, one Krankenschwester and one Pflegekräfte.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, so your ratio is like 30 or 50 to 1. So we cold called, because I'm from Ireland, basically every nursing home in Ireland during Corona. And we found out that care is the same in Ireland as it is in Germany, except we have a ratio of like 10 to 1. Okay. So we have 3 to 5 times as many staff at night time.
Yeah.
So then we went to live in a couple nursing homes. I lived in a nursing home in Bischofswerda during Corona for 3 weeks with my co-founders.
Wow.
And we just asked them, okay, what would you like? How would it work? What are the problems? And the first question we had was, hey,
where's the nurse?
Well, not even that. Well, we all knew where that question was. But the first question we asked was, hey, like we have a robot idea, but what about sensors? And they gave us like a list of reasons why they didn't work. Was it false alarms, hard to install, complicated? And we said, well, what if we could like give you a robot on the corridor? And they said, yeah, that's not so interesting. What's really interesting is inside the room. And I'll never forget, they said, can you see inside the room? And we went away and we're like, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah. So then we found that we could use radar tech. We said, okay, what if I can mimic the behavior of a nursing home in Ireland with 6 people in Germany? What's the main difference? The main difference is that in Ireland, they check every 30 minutes or an hour, depending on what you need. And in Germany, you don't have the capacity. So how could I increase the capacity? And that's where we came up with the idea for the company.
And it makes sense. And you mentioned that basically the core product or the main one is Oscar. It's called Oscar.
Yeah.
What's the name behind it? That's Oscar.
Oscar is actually Fernando, my co-founder's father's name.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But Oscar is also an easy name in every language.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's funny, we call it Oscar, but actually every robot I drop to a facility gets named. So right away, the first thing the care staff do is like we get Gunther, we get Hugo, we get Friedeline, whatever they want, they name it. And sometimes they draw faces on them or decor stickers or it gives them flowers. Every care team kind of makes them their own, which is...
It infuses the personality of all the characters. That makes perfect sense. What's the team? Talk to me about the team. Who are you?
So at the moment, we're 9 people based in Berlin.
All right.
For anyone listening or watching that's interested, we're what you call a full stack vertically integrated robotics company, which basically means we build the robots ourselves. So they're built and designed in Berlin.
Okay.
We manufacture them ourselves at the moment. We write all of the software for controlling the robots. We write all of the algorithmic work for the radars that we deploy. Then we also deploy the robots to the clients, service them, and we also provide customer support to the night team.
What's your background?
My background?
Sounds like engineering.
Yeah, interesting question. A little bit of everything. So I did an undergraduate in economics, politics, and law, did a master's in international management and a research master's in computer science. And then at that point in my life, Philip, I said, there's probably too much college.
Then you were 40.
So like, at this point, it was like, okay, too much it is. So then I went to work for a number of like SaaS companies kind of across Europe, doing early stage product iteration, trade shows, business development, product iteration. And then I ended up working with my team in this space. So we've been doing this for the last 4 to 5 years now.
4 to 5 years, including pandemics.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Let me tell you about the pandemic. I moved to Berlin one day before Corona locked the country down. I even joined the Fitness First in Alexanderplatz.
So you had to pay
the guy, I said, are you going to close because this Corona thing? He goes, no. The next day, God knows, yeah.
Man, that really sucks. And that was tough times. That was tough times for FLEXXI Care as well.
Well, the funny thing about Corona for us was that the nursing homes and care space was a natural pivot. Because if you remember, they were doing testing and vaccinations before anyone else.
Yeah, that's true.
So when the whole country was locked down, we were getting swabbed and going into nursing homes. I lived there for 3 weeks during it. So you sort of had this perception that Corona made everything difficult. It did. But those homes were operating business as normal. And we were in there. Yeah.
And you don't have to swab Oscar, for example.
No, Oscar is fine. He
doesn't have anything. That's good. Let's talk about your goals for the future. For example, like maybe next 5 years. But you mentioned you have now 3 basically test facilities or 3 clients, let's say.
Yeah.
What do you see? How will the business go from your perspective?
Yeah. So at the moment, we're opening a reimbursement paths with AOK and neurology. So it looks like we will probably double down on neurology as a first core use case.
Okay.
Because in the healthcare system in Germany and everywhere, the question is always who pays and how they pay. So we'll probably build out a use case for neurology. After that, we'll look at geriatrics. At the same time, we'll bring along our customers that are in the nursing home space and have conversations with the Pflegekräfte about how this model works.
So that's very ambitious.
Yeah. At the same time, we're also looking at internationalization of the model in Germany.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, we're part of Birdhouse, which is a Belgian, actually Antwerpian tech accelerator focused on age tech.
Talk to us a little bit about Birdhouse.
Yeah, so Birdhouse is basically an accelerator that's run out of Antwerp. They make investments in the companies as well as partnering them with mentors and advisors. So for instance, I won't talk in huge detail about our advisory board, but the board that they put in place was, for instance, the CEO of a Belgian health tech company that builds sensors for deployment in senior living facilities. One of the Belgian entrepreneurial leaders in software for nursing facilities in the USA. What would you call it? An orthopedic surgeon who sits on the board of a large Belgian hospital for the integration of these systems, and somebody in Benelux that was the co-CEO of a nursing group. So they really
powerful potential.
We went in there with one question. They said, why do you want to join the program? I said, we have a model that works in Germany. We know our product they always change a little bit, but more or less identical the way it delivers care in each market.
Yeah.
The question is, what do we have to do? What proof points do we need? What stakeholders do we need in order to enter these next markets? And when we want to, a little bit of startup talk, when we want to do our Series A, we should reverse engineer those markets now so we can say, I need to make investments in X, Y, Z to bring this to that market. So that's sort of the way that we're thinking about the business.
Okay, that sounds really good and ambitious.
That's
good luck.
Thank you. We need to be ambitious. Germany has a great tech sector.
It does, and I have to say that Germany has taught me a lot. About business and about ambition and about discipline.
Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Romania.
Okay, very cool.
I have a corporate background. I used to work 5 years at Hewlett Packard and 5 years at IBM. And then we just wanted to switch. And we aimed for Germany.
Because you like pain? Yeah.
And it was, kind of luckily for us, it was post-pandemic.
Yeah.
I was 2022. I was referred by a colleague of mine at one company. And then I said, okay, let's see if we can move on to a startup environment. So it was my actually first job in a startup.
Okay.
For a corporate environment.
Cool.
So,
yeah.
So it was pretty cool. And now 3 years later, I'm doing a podcast.
That's funny the way life.
Then that was a very big milestone, and we had a couple of things. But I'm guessing for you as well.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like really, how quickly can you learn? So our investors believe in us. We have excellent investors who operate across the industry. They were our early backers, as well as angels from Berlin and people in the space. And really, as an early stage CEO, the question is, okay, how quickly can I understand the model that we're trying to do? And can I
scale them into
scale? Can I keep getting better? And can I keep putting a team,
attract the energy, get the right people in?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's true. Those are tough conditions.
Yeah. But also it's like,
but if you manage to scale it and you find the right operations, I would say it's like specialist, then you can easily scale everything.
Well, like maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I mentioned my academic background. It's like, I'm sort of always I consider myself a bit of a generalist. What's always interesting to me in systems of knowledge is how those systems of knowledge connect together. So like a CEO role is pretty undefined. There are certain things, stakeholder management, blah, 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 fine. But it's sort of undefined. And it's up to you as a CEO to decide where your strengths are and what's the best for the business. And that's sort of, I think as an early stage CEO, that's sort of your unique vantage point. Nobody knows the business better than you at this stage. Nobody cares about the business more than you.
You're the consultant.
Exactly.
You're the one who takes the decision. And the thing is, I think we can map out the processes as you wish. And play a little bit around without impacting the business or hurting the business too much, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're not doing that experimentation, you're not trying hard enough.
Exactly, fair enough.
Yeah, because even the things that are working, maybe they could work better. You don't want to leave something on the table.
It's always about the thing that could go better. I kind of like a perfectionist, and one of the things that our business angel investor and the founder of the company, Dr. King, pushed me, stop being a perfectionist.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to just launch that campaign and let's see what happens. And that took a while.
Yeah.
But ever since I let go of the mistakes.
That's the Hewlett Packard in here.
Yeah. That's the Hewlett Packard in me, yeah. That's true.
Yeah, like what is it that I hate on these things to quote Steve Jobs, but I think he said like real art is ship, and that's true. Yeah, like you can agonize over whether it's perfect, but like rate of iteration is the most important thing. If I can do 5 things in the time it takes you to do 1, I'm going to beat you and execute.
I'm gonna be in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. So
I have 2 more questions basically, but kind of we touched based on how the future looks like, right? The last question then would be, what would you like your audience or our audience, if you want to send out a message to them, what would that message be?
So your audience is primarily people that are doing care at home. Is that correct?
Exactly. It's self-care professionals or self-employed professionals that take care of people in the comfort of their homes.
Yeah.
But we also diversify in the B2B sector with ambulante pflegedienst or care homes at the moment, let's say. And so you have caregivers and you have the people in need of care.
Yeah.
And a little bit of B2B section.
Yeah, so I came into the nursing home sector in Germany without any major knowledge of the uniqueness of this market. And I think from looking at the market, what I see is pretty much every care home is really doing its best. And the staff always care. And if you have somebody that you're caring for at home or an ambulante Pflege, and it comes a time when they should go into the stationäre Pflege or an Altenheim or whatever, the questions I ask myself is, in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, if the person is there, will this facility be able to support them with a quality of life? And what does quality of life look like? For most people now, my mother is 70, she uses her phone. Is there Wi-Fi in the building? Because that enables them to have certain services. The other side is like, what is that Pflegedienstleitung or the Geschäftsführer doing to try and alleviate the burden on staff? Because the burden is everywhere in a facility, and the staff can try their best, and they do, but they also need help. So I think it's nice to go to a facility that looks nice, has the social aspect, has activities, then is also keeping an eye on the technology, because the technology will be what enables those facilities to stay a great place to live in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years time.
Yeah,
it's probably better to be in a forward-looking facility if you have a choice, if you're lucky enough, than to be in one that doesn't consider digitalization to be part of their plan.
That's true.
And that would be my advice.
Yeah, well, that's a good advice for all of you who listen. And I think we can wrap this up and say the following. This is our first podcast in English, right? And it's like, I would have said CEO to CEO, like early CEOs. And of course, we don't have the experience of big budgets or big corporate environments and so on and so forth. But if there's any early CEOs out there, feel free to look at this episode. I think we're going to try to make some more of them. What would be one advice to an early CEO you would give?
Oh,
yeah. Ooh. I would say don't be a perfectionist. That's all.
What is one advice I would give to an early CEO? Okay, so this is very specific to my case, but I would say that what I have learned about building companies as a CEO is that it is incredibly hard. And the nature of doing something incredibly hard is you often, the same way you iterate across your business to say this works, this doesn't work, you should also be iterating across your own life and your personal life. And there are things that are core to you now that you might have to drop. Bad habits, good habits, relationships, because you see that they don't serve you anymore. And that can also make you quite lonely as a CEO. So I think as an early stage CEO, be prepared to iterate on all of your approaches, business and personal. But also remember that if it gets lonely, you need to have that peer group there to keep you sane. Yeah, it is all about business, but you should also make space for a little bit of life on the journey.
Excellent advice. I would say that's a good
Nice. Hard one advice.
Yeah. But really good one. Daniel, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
And to everybody else, looking forward to the next episode. Ciao.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to follow us on Spotify. Thank you for listening. Until next time.